My mother, she was pushing me, get good grades, apply to colleges, do this and that. And she just kind of pushed me along the right way, the right path, and then eventually I caught on.
So people do have the misperception that Latinos do not care about education, which is completely false because through my family, education is number one. It always has been.
The most common service learning activities reported at the University of Georgia are those that relate to tutoring and educational outreach. Understanding some of the issues that touch education can be helpful when working with Latino populations. The issues presented here can help give a context for understanding possible perspectives, concerns, or behaviors. Remember, though, that not everyone who consider themselves Latino or Hispanic will match this profile. K-12 education and Latinos. Because the Latino population as a whole is younger on average than other ethnic groups in the U.S., there are a lot of school-aged Latino children. In Georgia, for instance, while about 9% of the state's population is Hispanic, 12% of the pre-K through 12th grade student population in 2011 was Hispanic. There are over 200,000 Latino children enrolled in Georgia schools. In Clark County, where UGA is located, more than 1 in 5 students is Hispanic. The numbers are even higher in some local schools, such as J.J. Harris Elementary, where over 2/3 of the students are Latino and more than 1/3 are still learning English. While not all English learners are Latinos and not all Latinos are English learners, it's important to keep students' language development needs in mind. 6% of all K-12 students in Georgia are classified as limited English proficient, but only about 4% are served through English for speakers of other languages, ESOL programs, at school. Almost all K-12 education in Georgia is done in English only. Most students who have been in Georgia schools for several years acquire good conversational and social language use within a year or two. However, it can take 5 to 7 years of good quality instruction for students to be on grade level with their academic English usage, and in the meantime, English learners may fall behind on learning the content while they're acquiring English. Because of this, some schools offer sheltered content courses, where the teachers are trained not only in the subject matter, but in also how to support English language development. However, in many schools, only minimal support is available for students' language development. The achievement gap. Not all Latinos are the same academically. For instance, there are gifted Latinos, Latinos with learning disabilities, Latino valedictorians, and Latino dropouts, just as in the general population. However, all across the U.S. and here in Georgia, there is an achievement gap for Hispanic students. This is the gap between how well Latino students, as a group, do on various educational measures versus students from other groups. For instance, the 2011 results of the 3rd grade Criterion Reference Competency Test, CRCT, show that most Hispanic students across Georgia are meeting or exceeding set standards. The CRCT is a statewide exam that measures the academic competency of 3rd through 8th grade students. However, for Hispanic students, about twice the percentage are not meeting standards in these areas compared to whites. As another example, let's look at our local school district's graduation rate. First, the good news. Hispanic students in Clark County outperformed average Hispanic graduation rates across the state, but their graduation rate for 2011 was still the lowest of any ethnic group in Clark County, a full 20% lower than for white students in the district. You can find the achievement gap in almost any set of educational data, ranging from basic reading proficiency to college attainment. These sorts of statistics are common not only locally, but indeed across the United States. What might account for this achievement gap? Educational researchers have found a number of contributing factors. To start with, apart from ethnicity, students from low-income families are at a higher risk for this pattern of lower achievement. Latino families and children experience high rates of poverty. 41% of Georgia's Latinos aged 17 and under live in poverty, which in and of itself creates educational difficulties. For example, people living under the poverty level may have more difficulty getting appropriate health care, resulting in more school absences. Children living in poverty may not have as much access to books, enriching experiences like travel, or exposure to the same variety of language and vocabulary as other students. Job or housing instability can create economic and personal stress as well. Parents may work multiple low-paying jobs that don't allow time off for attending school activities, or they may not have transportation to get to school functions. Schools themselves can also contribute to the achievement gap for Latinos. As mentioned earlier, students who are still learning English need additional support. Most teachers are white, middle class, English speakers, and many have little experience or training in how to work effectively with children or parents from backgrounds different than theirs. In some cases, teachers, counselors, and other educators may hold lower expectations for such students, resulting in them taking less rigorous coursework or getting a subtle message that they are not academically capable. When parents or children speak only Spanish and school personnel speak only English, it can be harder for educators and parents to communicate. This also makes it harder to correctly identify gifted students or those with disabilities who may need support services. Some people believe that Latino parents don't care about education. Let's consider that a little more carefully. Do Latinos value education? Actually, Latino parents and families do value education. In many cases, access to a better education for their children was a major reason why families emigrated from other countries. Likewise, a recent Nielsen Company poll found that Hispanics value higher education more than Americans as a whole. 95% said that a college education is extremely or very important. 94% of Latinos say they expect their own children to go to college. So Latino families definitely think that education is important and valuable. However, in many cases, Latino parents may not act in ways that mainstream schools expect involved parents to show their support of their children's education. In some cases, school personnel think that means that parents do not care. Let's take a closer look. Parental involvement. Schools might expect involved parents to attend open houses and parent-teacher meetings. However, immigrants may not know how U.S. schools function since they did not go to school here. They also may not feel comfortable coming to a school where they feel someone won't understand them. And if no one at the school speaks Spanish, traditional school activities like parent-teacher conferences or sending notes home will not be successful in engaging parents. Schools might expect involved parents to monitor and help with their children's homework. But parents who do not read and write in English will have a hard time helping their children with homework assignments. In some Latin American countries, access to upper levels of education is restricted by economics or geography. Nationally, less than 1/3 of Mexican origin immigrants who immigrated after age 15 have completed a high school degree or higher. Therefore, parents may lack sufficient education to help with their children's schoolwork. Even so, a study by the Pew Hispanic Center found that Latino parents reported being more likely to help their child with homework than white parents. Schools might expect involved parents to advocate for their kids if they think they need special services or additional support in school. But because of the privileged role given to teachers in Latin American countries, Latino parents may not speak up out of respect to the teacher. Parents might assume that the professional, the teacher, is the expert in education and that they as parents don't have much to contribute. Since cultural norms may keep some parents from speaking out about their child's education, parents may not know what services are available for their child, how to qualify for these services, or what steps need to be taken to be on track for graduation. Schools might expect involved parents to push their children to strive for resume-building extracurricular clubs and activities. But Latino parents often view their role as supporting the moral education of their children, making sure they behave well and bring credit to the family. In Spanish, the concept of educación relates more to behavior than to formal educational accomplishment. Helping their family may also prevent students from participating in school activities. Bottom line, Latino parents who didn't have positive school experiences themselves or didn't go to school in the U.S. may not know how to advocate effectively for their child's educational needs or be able to help with their child's homework. Higher education and Latinos. As mentioned, most Latino parents want their children to go to college. However, there's a gap between actual college attendance and graduation. Nationally, only 13% of Latinos aged 18 to 24 complete a 4-year degree. According to the College Board, a national nonprofit committed to excellence and equity in education, even after enrolling in a public 4-year college, after 6 years, only about 52% of Hispanic students nationally actually graduate. Some reasons for the low levels of college attendance are the same as we saw in K-12 education. If Latino students don't graduate from high school or weren't given opportunities to take AP or advanced coursework, or if they were not academically on grade level, getting into college is challenging. Latino parents don't always have the experience or resources to assist or advise aspiring students and may not be comfortable with their children attending a college in another city or state. Some families may not have money for college or understand the process of financial aid. Many are reluctant to borrow. Family obligations can intervene, and parents may need the potential student to contribute to the family by taking a job instead. Public K-12 education is a legally guaranteed right for everyone, no matter what their immigration status is, according to the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. But attending a university is not a guaranteed right, so students who are not legal residents of the U.S. have yet another challenge. Not only can they not qualify for Hope scholarships, federal student aid loans, or grants, but as of 2011, they cannot attend top-tier public universities in Georgia. Until 2010, undocumented students could attend University System of Georgia colleges and universities if they paid out-of-state tuition, which was about 3 times the cost of in-state tuition and fully covered the university's costs. As of fall 2010, only 501 undocumented students were enrolled across the state. That's less than 0.2% of all students enrolled. Not even 2 out of every 1,000 students in the university system. However, the Board of Regents enacted a policy that undocumented immigrant students cannot be admitted to academically selective USG universities, like the University of Georgia. Additional state legislation continues to be proposed to further restrict undocumented students' options. As you can imagine, these issues and the public discussion about immigration also trickle down to influence the attitudes of K-12 students, who may wonder why, if they are undocumented, they should do well in school if they have no options afterwards. The DREAM Act. At the national level, for several years, proponents of immigration reform have encouraged the passage of legislation called the DREAM Act. This law would create a legal pathway for students who were brought into the country as minors and graduated high school in the U.S. The DREAM Act will allow these undocumented students to attend college or join the military to gain legal permanent residency. However, the DREAM Act has not passed. What helps Latino students succeed? As someone who may work with Latino students and families in educational settings, what can be done to promote educational success and counter the achievement gap? Minor students from immigrant families are not responsible for whether or not their parents brought them to the U.S. legally. Latino children are likely here to stay and as such are a part of the future of our state. Making sure they are well educated is an economic, public policy, and moral imperative. You can help by encouraging such students. Mentoring. Educational research shows that when students who are placed at risk for dropping out of school have at least one caring adult who can support, mentor, or encourage them, this helps keep them in school. What would it take for you to be that person? Valuing bilingualism and biliteracy. We also know that when students learn to use their home language, such as Spanish, as a resource and to value and develop it, they do better academically and socially. Students who can read in Spanish, for instance, learn to read in English more quickly and effectively. So if you know Spanish, use it to show students that being bilingual is valuable. If you don't know Spanish, you can still model the attitude that knowing more than one language is good and worthwhile. Academic help outside school. Especially for students learning English, having someone who can help them understand and support their homework activities can really help. Learning the language takes a lot of time and effort, and sometimes just having extra structure, like an after-school location and time to do homework, and someone to ask questions of, makes all the difference. Some tips for applying what we've learned. Remember that each individual, family, and community is different, and that these differences are influenced by many factors, including socioeconomic status, educational attainment, and the level of integration into the larger community. Latinos in emerging states such as Georgia may have different experiences than Hispanics in the Southwest or Northeast. Even in the same community, different people have different levels of ability, different strengths, and different situations. Not all Latino children need your help to be successful, but as we have seen, some do. So as always, getting to know the individual student and/or family is very helpful in understanding how you can best support a student's educational achievement, motivation, and talents. Gracias y buena suerte. Thanks and good luck.